Photography really is a splendid thing. Did you know you can even make sandwiches with it? So what am I talking about? These bad boys here, let me show you. It's all to do with our friend depth of field. It's all right, you carry on. Sorry, I was getting in everyone's way. Use a longish lens and a wide aperture and you can start to pinpoint your depth of field and make a blurry background. So if I focus on the cappuccino and take a picture, it looks like that. And it's a really cool looking shot. If I stay in the same place but put my point of focus on the salt and pepper, we get a shot that looks like this. But if I put it smack in the middle, in between the two, on the sandwich, then we have our emphasis fully on the sandwich. So let's just have a look. What's going on here? A wide aperture, f4.5. This is not a pro lens. This is only a 4.5 lens, and I'm not using pro lenses for this because I want you to see. You don't have to. So I call this a sandwich because we have got our front layer of softness here. That's this slice of bread. We have another at the back over here. That's soft. That's the back slice of bread. And then in the middle, we've got our bit of filling, our bit of meat, the interesting stuff. And because it's sandwiched between two areas of softness, you've got yourself a really, really impactful sort of a picture. My version of a Jamie Oliver deconstructed sandwich there. So why don't we go and see how this would work if we use it in a bigger environment? But to do that, I'm going to need a longer lens. When you're doing a portrait or something like that, this can work really, really well. And when you're using people, you're making a sandwich with them, you do need a lot of space. You know how it is when you're looking for something to photograph? And you just walk around a corner and there's a Sian sitting on a wall. It happens all the time. It's just astonishing, really. How are you doing? All right?
I'm good.
Good. We were going to do a portrait shoot with Sian and her boyfriend because this sort of technique works really, really well as a coupley photo shoot. But she dumped him. So it's just you, isn't it? She's been a really good sport. She's going to get cold and we're going to shoot a few pictures with Sian. I'll be back in a tick. I'm just going to talk through what we're going to do. The thought I have is, if we have Sian somewhere over here in the sort of middle of this little sort of bit of cobbled street here, hopefully she won't get run over. The back sandwich of the picture is going to be the cobbles up through there with the old buildings, the little street disappearing into the distance. The front slice of the sandwich is going to be just here. It's going to be this little piece of stonework, and I'm only going to use a little tiny piece of it off the corner. So the bottom right will be out of focus stonework. We have Sian in the middle as the filling, and then we have the rear slice of bread at the back there of the buildings in the distance. It's really important to get your head around what it is you want to do. What is the picture you want to take? See it in your head and then run it out through your arms, out of the camera and take it. How do we set the camera up? Well, you need a long focal length for this because a long focal length has a shallow depth of field. And to make the shallow depth of field as shallow as possible, a wide aperture. I'm going to be shooting in aperture priority mode. So make sure that's set. It is. Dial in the widest aperture. On this lens, that is, with the lens zoomed out, f5. This is not my 2.8 professional lens, and I'm doing it with this lens on purpose to show you don't necessarily need a 2.8 lens to get this kind of effect into a picture. You're going to get run over, Lorna, just make it all move to the right. So, we've got the lens set up, we've set it fairly long. I don't know the exact focal length because that will need to be tweaked at the end, sort of when we go to actually take the picture. The light isn't brilliantly bright, so I've set a fairly high ISO of about 400, and I will check the shutter speed at the last moment to make sure I'm not going to get camera shake. That's really all there is to it. Now all we've got to do is to create our picture. So what we need is a Sian. Shall we go? Oh, isn't she sweet? Look, she wants a little lift down. How old are you? Anyway, let's go over here. Let's have a little walk over here. Now we want to make sure, about here I reckon, Sian. This will work so long as Sian isn't beyond the infinity point of the lens. Infinity is this little figure of 8 on its side symbol, just here on the side of the lens. So long as the focus point is inside that, then you should be able to get a soft background. So I reckon for Sian about here, that should work really, really well. The next bit is the geometry. So I want to line Sian up with the white building over there and the corner of the stonework there, and I have to give myself enough space to be able to see round it. I reckon, Sian, could you go this way a little bit? A bit more. A bit more. Thank you. Yeah, I reckon about there. That's really cool. You're being a really good sport. Thank you. Okay. Let's go back over here and look behind the wall. Now this is kind of typical photographer land, isn't it? Long lens and girls and hiding behind walls. For goodness sake, if you're doing this in public, make sure you know the person or people you're photographing. So, now we've got to line things up. If I just take a shot like this, cool. You can see that Sian is sharp and the background's a bit soft, but we're missing a slice of the sandwich. We're missing that front piece. In order to get that, I have to move me to line it up. So I'm going to bend my knees and move to the right a bit, and you can sort of see it with your eyes as you move around. I got Sian in not quite the right place. I'm sorry, Sian, can you go back that way a bit more? Keep going, a little bit more, a little bit, there we go, that's fine. Hello, little person in pink. It's all right, don't worry, it's fine. Right, hoping Sian doesn't get run over by a postman, and we've got to wait for the postman to move, but I can just have a little look. That's actually really good. So I can, Lorna, come around a little so you can see what I'm doing here. Right, so what I'm going to do is tilt the camera. I'm going to do a little Dutch tilt like that with the camera, which would just kick this little bit of stonework here into the bottom right-hand corner of the picture a little more. And because Sian was doing this kind of really sort of sweet little posy thing, it will kind of work with the fact that she's leaning backwards a bit. So here we are. Let's get myself lined up again. There's Sian. That's not Sian. I don't know who that was, but it's not Sian. You've aged. Anyway, oh, look at you laughing. So there we go. It's kicking that little bit of wall. We've got the background. Big eyes, let your shoulders relax. Think warm thoughts. We'll just let this chap go. Hey, you look good. That's cool. Thank you, Sian. Now, as you can see when you look at the picture, it's only a little hint in the foreground, and we've got that soft in the background. So we have made a Sian sandwich. See how easy that was? Let's just go and look at another example, because I want to show you how quickly you can spot these things. Come on, mate. Here's a good little spot. It's amazing how you can use almost anything. I just quite like this piece of stonework just here. We can use that. You don't have to worry about these bins and things, because you can lose those by using the focal length of your lens to compress stuff. Hoping we can get away with it. It's just spotting with rain a bit. You all right? Okay. Oh, brave girl. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking of a bit of this stonework looking just across the top here, probably kicking the camera a bit. And then over here, we've got the background of the marina. We've got the boats and all that kind of stuff going on. It's kind of messy. So I'm thinking we'll make that soft. We've got the foreground soft. We've got Sian in the middle as the filling, nice and sharp. And the background slice all soft and fuzzy. Sian, yeah. I think it's stopping. Is it stopping or am I imagining it? Rain spots on the lens. I'm not sure where you need to be, but probably about here. You can give us a Marilyn Monroe in a minute. So I think if you're facing the way I'm facing, go that way. I'll shout some directions in a minute. Okay, so over here, we've got the elements of our sandwich, we've got the ingredients, and we're all kind of ready to go. Now it's just a case of making sure we lose the top of this bench. We don't want a nasty bin with a fag end in the top of it, because that would just spoil the whole thing. And then we're going to miss that anyway. So now it's a case of lining things up. And again, I'm just going to bend my knees to get, because I'm going to shoot Sian sort of 3/4 length from the knees up. I'm not going full length with this. From here, I have got a mast sticking out in the top of Sian's head. If you come over, Lorna, and just film right over my head quickly, if you put the camera right over my head, you should be able to see there's a mast going out of Sian's head. Now, what most people would do is to say, Sian, can you move a bit? And that's precisely what I'm going to do. Sian, can you move a bit that way? Perfect. Not too far, because I don't want to get another mast. That's brilliant. There we go. That's all right, Lorna. We're holding up the traffic. Right. Are you all right? Are you warm enough? So, what we do now is set our focal length, set the zoom, onto the camera, a longish focal range. I've got the foreground there. Now if I take a shot like that, you can see the foreground Sian's completely gone. I'm just going to come up a little bit. I'm going to go back further. Don't fall in the key. So bend my legs, check the zoom, focus on Sian, the background's soft. I've got that little bit of stonework. Sian, give us your Marilyn Monroe. Oh look, you missed that. Here we go, that's cool, look at you. Big eyes. Oh mate, you were laughing like a, look at you. And I'm going to do one the other way. That's really cool actually. Perfect, thank you Sian. As you can see, we have again made that sandwich. Foreground, background. It's not quite as good over there as it was over there, but it still works. One last thing I want to show you. Should we get out of the rain? Greenery works particularly well to make a slice of the sandwich, particularly if you're shooting at a wedding, because having a little bit of this sort of greenery going on in the foreground but having it all nice and soft leads you nicely to a bride and groom. For example, here we're using the greenery in the foreground. We've got the bride and groom having a bit of a lovely kiss, and then the building in the background all soft. Or here, where it's all greenery, I'm just sort of lurking, that's not the right word to use, is it? I'm just shooting through some greenery in close. And then by having the couple backlit, so the light's coming from behind them, but we can't see the sky and the soft greenery beyond, it just kind of works. It makes a layer, it puts them in that sandwich and they look really cool. So over here we've got a nice little piece of a tree and a completely natural and very comfortable looking Sian. Well done, mate. So you're pretty good there. I'm just going to ask, can I nick your phone? Because that piece of pink sticking out your pocket. Is that right? I'll give it back, I promise. That's really good. I might ask you to move your hands or something in a minute. But the shot I'm going to do is to have the greenery on the right of the picture, soft, sort of out of focus. We've got Sian sort of in this nice sort of little nestly piece of tree. We've got nice light going on under here. And then looking through this gap, the background will be out of focus. So I'm going to shoot it from over here. And this time I'm going to be using a tripod. It kind of addresses another question which lots of people ask me, and that is, when is the right time to use a tripod? The answer is when you need one. Why do I need one now? Because Sian's under a tree and the light levels have dropped a bit, although they are going up and down, I know that I'll probably get camera shake through little movements of my hand. The shutter speed is going to be too slow. If I just compose this picture up, that's nice, Sian. Can you put your left hand down, that's it, just out of sight, and just sort of look straight ahead out into the park. That's cool. That's nice. So we've got a bit of greenery. I've got the autofocus point on Sian's face, on single point autofocus. My shutter speed is down to a 50th of a second, but I'm using about 250mm of lens. I know that that is going to get camera shake because I need a much, much faster shutter speed to be able to hold it in my hand. So I'm using a tripod, but it's the same thing. There we go, do your moody stare. That's lovely, Sian. I'm going to just take one more, like that. That's really all there is to it. But just a little political correctness warning. If you're going to wander around the park with a long lens in the bushes, make sure you know the person you're photographing.